So the new Captur might be really good to look at, but I think the main question is, what is it like to drive? And I think I'm just going to cut to the chase here and just say that this is the brand new Renault Captur, and it's leaps and bounds ahead of its previous model. So today we're going to take it for a drive. We're going to have a look around the inside and the outside. We're going to see what makes it so cool. And then at the end, we'll give it the GDR test. Should you get it? Should you just drive it? Or should you remove it from your list of cars that you're looking at? So stick around until the end because we've got a lot to get through. And welcome to another Greg Dennis review. Okay, so let's start off this review from the inside of the Renault Captur. But firstly, is it Captur or is it Captur? But anyway, for the sake of this video, it's the Captur. And boy, does it look good inside here. And as I've said, this is leaps and bounds ahead of the outgoing model that Renault were selling. It's completely new. You've got this massive screen in the middle here. You've got this really cool floating center console that houses the gear shifter. And for me, this is probably the highlight of the interior because it's so unique and new that it just stands out. Like, there isn't another car that looks like this inside. It's really impressive. This Renault Captur comes in two trim models. You've got the Zen and you've got the Intens. The unit we're looking at today is the Intens models, which is the top of the line model that you do get for the Captur this year. And on the inside of this Intens model, you're getting a 9.3-inch touchscreen that houses your Apple CarPlay, navigation, and everything from an infotainment point of view. You're also getting a heated steering wheel as well as wireless phone charging underneath your floating console, as well as the ambient lighting that really brings this interior to life at night. Now, while you don't get leather seats in either of the trim levels, you do get these really nice fabric seats with different types of textures and colors with contrast stitching. It's really such a French design and a really nice, comfortable seat. And then from an interior quality and materials used, they've got soft touch material going across the dash and everywhere you touch here in the front, which is really nice. As well as on this floating center console, you've got some soft touch material. There is some padding where you do kind of lean your arms, but it's not very thick, so it does get quite hard after a while, but otherwise it's quite comfortable to use. The build quality is okay. Your floating console in the center here is a little bit shaky, but otherwise it's quite sturdy. I mean, it has to be. Storage is really great. You have a decently sized glove box here in the middle, although you do still have the fuse box there, so it does eat into a lot of the space inside. You've got some average sized door bins here as well, more than big enough for a bottle of water or anything that you may need. You've got a decently sized little bin here behind the gear lever, as well as underneath the floating console too, so if you're not charging your phone, it's another good spot to hide something. And then looking in the back, there isn't the most space that you would expect. I mean, this is in my driving position and I am quite tall actually, so my knees are right up against the seat in front of me, which I don't think will be the case for most people, but you know, as usual, I'm the minority. And your seat designs carry through from the front to the back here with your multi-textural fabrics, colors, contrast stitching and all of that, which is really nice and gives it a lot of cool character. The door bins aren't that big, but again, more than big enough for a bottle of water or anything that you need, as well as some netting behind the seats to store anything you might need. The people at the back here do also have two USB slots, a 12-volt socket, and their own little air vents. Headroom is okay, and again, I'm really tall, so this is quite impressive. I do have a hat on as well, so I'm taking up more space than I need, but otherwise it is quite comfortable here at the back, although we will try and avoid the scratchy plastics too. And one of the key highlights of the Captur is going to be its boot, where you do have quite a flat loading floor here to start with, but if you open it up, you have a false floor where you can slide this down into as well if you do need more room to pack some stuff here. And if you bring them back to the top like so, you lift it, you do actually have a spare wheel down here too. You're good to go and the confidence to take on road trips because you can change your tire. And to add to the versatility of the Captur, you can slide these back seats forward and backwards depending on how much more room you need in the boot. Now that's handy. And to then quickly speak about the infotainment here, you've got a 9.3-inch display that you can connect your phone to mirror your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You do also have navigation and all of the normal stuff that you would be able to access through infotainment. But what is different here is that you have a bit of a modular display. So you are actually able to change the different things that you're seeing here, like your different widgets, and set up the perfect display that you want with the information that you want to see, which is actually quite nice. So if you go back to show home here, this has been set up so that you can actually have quick access to your different safety systems here. So if you want to turn off your traffic sign display, you can do it here straight away without having to navigate through all of the different menus, and the same for your blind spot monitoring. And then when you click on My Sense, this brings up your choices between your different driving modes. So here you've got your sport and you have your eco. as well as My Sense, which is configurable, so you can set it up how you want to. And it also links your different ambient lighting, so you can choose what color you want your interior based on the different drive mode that you're in. And then going into the driver's display, depending on what drive mode you're in is how it'll kind of set up what you're looking at here. So in My Sense, it's quite configurable. So here we're just showing your standard speed. And then if you go into sport, it brings up your rev counter, so that you're always in control and can see what your revs are at any time. That's my favorite. And then if you go into eco, it keeps it quite simple, keeps it green to show that you are in eco mode. And then on your steering wheel here, you've got the ability to show and change what you can see on either side of your driver's display here. So your horsepower and your Newton meters as you're driving, what mode you're in, as well as your kilometers and trip meters and fuel economy and all that sort of thing. And then if you press it again, it kind of brings you to the next side where you're able to show different stuff. So your compass, your driving, your navigation, and then if you do have multimedia playing, it shows you what track is playing, as well as the artist, etc. So nice and configurable, quite basic and really easy to use. The automatic climate control is actually really easy to use. And with these dials provided and the screens inside, it's quite aesthetically pleasing and makes it look really modern and high tech. So before we even start this review, I'm going to show you how cool this key actually is. It's a proximity sensing key, so the closer you get, the car knows you're there and it'll open. And then if you step away, it'll know you want to go, so it locks. Pretty cool, and it works every time. So this is really, really nice. So this is the all-new Renault Captur, a sleek, bold, new design, and really encapsulates what a French car should look like. So what really stands out from the front are these brand new C-shaped LED headlights. A design that they've borrowed from the brand new Renault Clio, and I don't blame them because that's a beautiful looking hatchback. And then if you look at the front grille, you can see they've got these like 3D designed elements that are very similar to the outgoing model. And again, not a bad thing because it lets people know that this is a Captur. And then right in the front here, you've got an air vent that actually works. Check, there's daylight. Quite impressive. And then here on the side, you've got 17-inch diamond cut wheels that come standard on this Intens model. And then looking at the side of the car, you can see you've got this indent on the door and the sills, which kind of makes the bottom of the car look a lot more wider and stocky, which I really like. And then coming up the side, you can see you've got a black contrast roof with this chrome detailing that separates the two. Quite a nice touch because a lot of cars that have contrast roofs just look like they've been plopped on. And then coming around to the back, you can see that the LED shaped design lights from the front have carried through to the rear. Really, really nice. And a good looking rear of a car, if I say so myself. Modern, sculpted, French, and everything that you should expect from Renault. So the new Captur might be really good to look at, but I think the main question is, what is it like to drive? And I think I'm just going to cut to the chase here and just say that it's really impressive. The car handles itself really well on the road. It absorbs a lot of the road imperfections. Going over speed humps and any sort of cobblestoned areas is handled really well. It's not a hard suspension, but it's also not soft, so they found a really good middle ground. Speed hump. Oh, so composed. And one of the most impressive aspects of this car for me is its engine, and it's powered by a 1.3 litre turbocharged petrol, putting out 113 kilowatts and 270 Newton meters of torque. And you really do feel all of that because when you put your foot down, the car goes. Yes, you do have quite a bit of turbo lag, I must say, but once you actually get used to the car and you understand how it performs when you put your foot down and all of that, it actually becomes quite an enjoyable drive, and a car that responds when you need it to. Yeah, it is quite fun. And with the ability to change your driving modes on a whim, it's actually quite easy because you've got a button down here which controls your My Sense, which can either put you into eco or sport into an individual mode called My Sense, where you can configure everything as you need it. Sorry, that was just someone cutting in front of me. And when you put it into sport mode, the car kind of tightens up. Your steering becomes a little bit more heavier. Your driver display changes too, putting your rev counter right in front of you in red so that you're in full control of them all the time. Your throttle response is a lot quicker, and the car just has a little bit more oomph to it and really wants you to go that little bit faster, but really composed. So to make the car a lot more fun to drive, You just take control of the pedal shifters and you hold down the right pedal shifter and it puts you into manual mode, which means that when you put your foot down, the revs climb all the way to the red line and you change when you want to. It makes the car a lot more fun to drive and a lot more engaging. And the delivery of the power is through a 7-speed dual clutch transmission mounted here in the floating center console, which is actually quite cool. It's a really responsive gearbox that's a lot of fun to drive. So when you are driving slow, it climbs through the gears really effortlessly and it kind of knows where you want to be in. But if you do need to get onto it and put it into sport mode, it acts quickly and it gives you each and every gear as and when you need it. No fuss, but just a really smooth gearbox that you can drive all day. So now we've come to the part where we have to put it through the GDR test. Should you get it? Should you just drive it? Or should you remove it from your list of cars that you're looking at? And I'm going to say you should go ahead and get it. This new Renault Captur is an amazing car. It looks cool, it drives really well, it has an awesome interior, not anything that you will see in a lot of cars. So if you want to stand out on the road, if you want to have a really good driving experience, and you want a 1.3 litre engine with 113 kilowatts and 270 newton meters of torque, a lot more than what you'll find in the category, then this is the car for you. Go ahead and check out the new Renault Captur. There are other cars in the category that are also great, just like the Mazda CX-30, so if you want to check that one out, you can see my review if you click up here. So thanks for sticking around and for watching another Greg Dennis review. If you did enjoy that, please will you drop a like and a comment down below if there's any other cars you'd like to see me review. But for now, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!